Very good. Okay. Very good. Okay, then good check-in. I'll see you in a bit, yeah? Sure. Hi. I'm jumping in. I'm teaching a class here in 15 minutes, so I'm online and stuff. I'll call you after. Okay, want me to call you after, or you want to call me later tonight? Okay, have fun. Bye. Hey, Stephanie. I just made you I'm making you co-host. It says connecting to audio, but I can see you.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Very good. Hey, nice to see you again.
You too.
Um, so I just got a call from Lindsay. She is running late and checking in a hotel. So um, figured I can kind of get it started and then maybe introduce you first.
Yeah, the last time I did this, I think they had me just do the library stuff first. I'm happy
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If we could do that, I think she wants to do the presentation. So I'll just introduce you. Stephanie, what's your last name?
Lucas?
Lucas, that's right.
Yeah, and I can, let's see, change.
And can you access the screen and everything? I made you co-host, so
Let me see. Yeah, it's gonna let me share. So I should be good.
right. Let's see. All right, we have one attendee so far, Sherry Bradley. Hello, Sherry. Sherry, and you can, I think we muted everyone, but you could feel free to let us know kind of where you are, whether you started a business or whether you're thinking about one, and just put that maybe a quick note about yourself in the chat box. Thank you. Just checking everything. Stephanie, do you see in the chat, you see my,
I see your comment. Uh-huh.
all right, just testing all the technology today.
Yeah.
And then if um, you're on my screen. Good. All right. I tell you, Stephanie, we did the in-person workshop in Pineville, the library.
Oh, how did that go?
Have you been to that library?
No, I need to get over there.
Oh, it is fantastic. I mean, it's
Yeah, it looks great.
modern, it's lighting, it's
Yeah.
spacious. Not the old library that I know from my days, you know. I think they even more some books in there too, but no, it's pretty, and I had a very nice conference room off to the side where
Nice.
workshops. So and it was yeah, I like that. It's
So
just
is that,
hmm.
are you gonna do more of the in-persons? Are there more scheduled or?
I think he wants to do like 6 a year or so,
Oh, okay. Nice.
and I guess rotate. But Pineville just made sense, and
Yeah.
be able to get a room. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to get over there. It looks really beautiful.
all right, we had 35 people sign up. I always wondered. That's why I'm just checking out here and make all the settings. If 35 people signed up, and with 9 minutes till start, we have one. You always wonder, hey, is there maybe some gateway that blocks them to come in? But one person's in. I think that's good news, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I've noticed with Zoom programs, we tend to have people kind
Yeah,
of calling in at the last minute.
yeah. And I think a lot of people, I mean, first of all, you figure out of 35, maximum 20 will show, right?
I mean,
The
yeah,
ratio is like it's like maybe more than half people sign up
yeah,
and
yeah,
something else, you know. Now, so
yeah.
if we charged for it, if we said for that library presentation, we'll have to charge you 9.99. Then people may be associated with more value and say, "Oh God, we got to make sure Stephanie's on it. We paid for this. We need to see this, right?"
Right. Or yeah, we've had those kind of discussions. There's sort of no way to set any accountability. Um, but it is what it is. And luckily though with the Zoom, I mean you probably don't put a limit on it, do you? Or
On what?
the Zoom programs? You don't put a limit on how many you can sign
Oh,
up, do you? Or
I'm not sure. It's not my account. It's the
oh
corporate account. I don't know if they have unlimited. I
yeah.
hmm. How is are you affected at all, the library, is just by all cutting of expenses and the Doge activities? I would any grant?
Um so at the moment, no. We do get grant funding from the state library, and the state library is largely funded through the uh, Museum and Library Sciences Institute. So, potentially there will be less big projects that we can take on. Like we did a massive overhaul of all of our collection got tagged with RFID codes just to make the whole checkout process much simpler.
Hmm. Okay.
That was a couple of years ago, and that was completely grant funded through the library, state library. So any projects like that might be affected, but day to day, no, I'm not at this time.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I know the score funding has been affected. I mean, there's all kinds of discussions, how it's, how we're, uh,
Wow, yeah.
with less funding and all that, so you probably come across that. So, well,
Yeah, so kind of, I guess it's sort of going to be a trickle down because we get funded through the county, and so whatever the county affects the county, it will eventually affect us, I'm sure. So
yeah, yeah. It's a shame. It seems like we're cutting into, research and technology and education and small business. I mean, that's, yeah, I don't know. I don't like, cutting, but that seems like not the right place.
yeah,
Oh,
well,
it is what it is, right?
it is what it is.
Oh, we have two attendees now. We've doubled.
Okay.
I did double the attendee list. So let's see who has joined us here. Patricia McLaughlin. Hello, good evening. Oh, as I said it, Patricia McLaughlin left us again.
Uh-oh.
Um, Sherry Bradley, I see you asking a question. I see you as, do I have your name? Yes, I have your name. Unless it's not Sherry Bradley, then I wouldn't have it. Awesome. Oh, good. All right. Things are progressing. Very good. We have two attendees. Patricia McLaughlin has returned.
All right, there we go.
No worry. Thank you. Hello. We'll start in about 5 minutes. We're still waiting for a couple of attendees. Okay, now they're coming. Stephanie, how long have you been with the library? I've asked you that before, probably.
Um, it's about 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah, yeah.
Always in the same role, or has your
No, very briefly came into the system working part-time, and then I took a librarian position at University City. So I started at South County, then I was in University City, and now I'm in Matthews. Um, so yeah, but I hope to stay here.
Yeah.
A good location. And how long have you worked with SCORE or volunteered with SCORE, I guess I should say.
I've about 5.5 years, right before COVID started is when I got my sort of onboarding and training.
Oh, wow,
Still
okay.
do it in person, and then
Yeah,
everything shut down and listen. And for the first 3, 4 years, I never met a client. I didn't meet anybody else from SCORE. It was really, very. That was
wow.
part of the idea is,
Yeah,
you build a network and people. I just moved here to Rock Hill, and so I don't know. It kind of turned into Hollywood Squares for a long time, right?
right.
So I like the idea of being able to meet with people again in person.
Yeah.
In-person workshops are just more interactive, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
just have a whole different dynamic.
Yes, they used to be quite different, I feel like, because I was doing them when they were in person, and yeah, it was very much more of a forum, I guess. Like people felt freer to share
Yeah.
what they had going on. So
All right, then. Let me welcome Jace Weston. Well, thank you for joining us. We're at 5:28, so we'll give it a couple minutes. Folks might be coming from work or traffic, and even our host tonight is running late a little bit. So we'll we'll forgive everybody for running a little bit late here and wait another 5 minutes. Yeah, thank you. But if you have a moment, maybe in the chat box here, just give me a quick bit of information on have you started a business? Are you thinking about one? And just kind of have an idea where you are. Super. Thank you. Just thinking. Okay, good. And this is a good workshop if you're thinking about it because there's a lot of stuff like anywhere in business or in life. we don't know what we don't know, right? And this is kind of gives you a little bit of an overview of what you might not know. And think about a business sounds like a great idea, but um, it comes with a lot of challenges. So we'll talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, Jace is thinking about having an idea of what I want to do. Perfect. And we'll give you some tools to check maybe some of your assumptions and kind of give yourself an evaluation based on different criteria and see, if that kind of helps you maybe put a little more definition of your project or some input and on making some changes. Okay. We're at 5:30. Thank you for your patience. I'll promise we'll talk a little bit faster if we wait a couple minutes here and we'll get everything in on time. We'll respectful to your time. So we have uh, two presentations. The first one will be uh, from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library, and then we have our main presentation on how to start a business, things to think about. And then we'll wrap up and we'll try to do that by 7 o'clock, okay? Okay, good. Sherry, thank you for your input. So Sherry has started a business in the past, and this new one is a brand new direction. Awesome. Hey, and I tell you what, why people like small businesses? Because you can change gears, right? In big company, you work for big companies, it's oftentimes very hard to change directions, like the Titanic, very hard to move. But if you're in a smaller ship, you can move quickly and you learn from maybe your experiences and apply those. And the second time around, you'll avoid making some of the mistakes. All right. We've got Joel Boulos on the line. Joel, thank you for joining us. Yeah, if one of you, I can't tell, but if one of you can mute yourself, we'll hear some background noises here. Fantastic. Hey, Joel, real quick, we asked all of our attendees tonight to maybe just give us a quick note on, are you in business already or are you thinking about something? Do you have maybe an idea? Just put that in the chat box. Thank you. And we'll start in 2 minutes. Okay. Thank you, Joel, for sharing. So Joel has an LLC and has an idea there. And the biggest issues I've been dealing with is the funding to make it happen. Okay. Good point. We'll talk about funding quite a bit. That's a great topic. Thanks for that mention, Joel. And we'll give it 2 minutes till 5:35. Thank you for your patience. We had notice from a couple people that they're running late, so but I want to be respectful of your time and get started here momentarily. So while we do that, let me introduce Stephanie Lucas from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library. She's going to kick us off tonight. She's going to kick us off tonight with an overview of what the many tools and tricks that the Charlotte Library offers as far as doing research, identifying your market, maybe identifying your competition, some really super helpful tools. And the good news is all of them are, for the most part, free as long as you have a library card. So my great pleasure to introduce Stephanie Lucas.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my slides. Let's see. And feel free to shout out if you have a question at me. I tend to have a difficulty watching the chat box, so just let me know if you have any questions. But as we said, everything I'm going to show you tonight is absolutely free with a library card. If you are not a resident of Mecklenburg County, check with your local library, see if they have some of these resources I'm going to talk about. If not, you can get an out-of-county card with the library. That's $45 per year annually. But I'll just show you the many benefits of having your library card, even as a business owner. And just keep in mind that everything I'm going to show you, you have access to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from the comfort of your own home or office. So let's kind of dive in here. So the SCORE program that you're about to see is really going to emphasize the importance of developing your business plan. And the library is going to be a great resource for this. When I go to our website, you'll see here and search our resources. We have more than 50 resources devoted simply to business development. So we can you can find data on your industry, data on your competitors, information about suppliers, customers. We really have the tools that are going to help you put together your marketing campaign as well. So sort of all facets of your business. So to demonstrate some of these great tools that we have, we are going to use this example of opening a pet supply store. So I'm going to run you through what resources I might use if I'm interested in opening a pet supply store. Okay, so this first tool, you're seeing a screenshot from this tool that's called ABI Inform. Okay, that stands for Abstracted Business Information. So this is a database that's going to provide industry profiles, business trends, corporate strategies, competitive landscapes, financial forecasts, so much more. And when we look at this example here, we learn that 70% of households in the United States have at least one pet. Okay, so that might lead me to think that this is a pretty sound idea of starting this pet supply store. All right, so once I have gotten an overview of my industry from ABI, I'm going to turn to this tool called Data Axle. So you're seeing here a screenshot from Data Axle. This used to be known as Reference USA, if that's familiar to anybody who's been in business before. This is going to be a database of companies that are throughout the United States and Canada. This is a great tool for assessing your competition, even finding suppliers. You can search companies by SIC codes, so standard industrial classification codes. If you don't know the codes for your industry, you can use keywords. You're also going to search by a geography here, so you can do zip code searches, county searches. You can go as wide or as small as you'd like. So here from this screenshot, you see that when I searched businesses selling pet supplies in Mecklenburg County, I get 269 results. Okay, so here I have in front of me my 269 competitors. Okay, here's another screenshot from Data Axle. This is the map feature in Data Axle. This is going to allow you to see the saturation levels of businesses that are similar to yours. So we can use this map to try to find areas where the competition is a bit more sparse. So if I were to open a brick and mortar pet supply store, I might be looking for some of these, say, sparser areas where I don't see quite so many of these little red dots. Okay. So I found my competition using Data Axle. This is a screenshot from a third tool that I want to show you. This is called Simply Analytics. Now that we have assessed our competition, we can use Simply Analytics to find our customers. So for this, Simply Analytics is going to give us demographics, business and marketing data. It's going to show us how many people who live in any given area, how much they spend in your industry. Okay, so when I'm searching for people spending money on pets around Mecklenburg County, I have this heat map. You'll see where I see dark red. These are all the areas where people spend quite a bit of money on their pets. Another screenshot from Simply Analytics. This is going to show us that in 2022, residents of Mecklenburg County spent nearly $500 million on their pets. So you can see how the spending in selected areas compares to, so you can compare like spending in Mecklenburg County to spending in North Carolina, compare that to spending in the United States, and again, assess, is this the right area for the business that I have in mind? Okay, so what is all of this going to mean for your business, all of this data that you're collecting? So this is my favorite little trick to show you right here. This slide shows you the heat map from Data Axle with the Simply Analytics area map. So what you can do with this is compare your areas where you already have a heavy saturation of competition with areas where you have, and then find your areas where you have heavy spending in your industry. And that is going to allow you, oops, sorry, to find those areas where, seek out those areas where you have high customer spending and yet maybe a little bit sparser with the competition. So great comparison you can do using Data Axle and Simply Analytics. Okay. So final screenshot from Simply Analytics. Just keep in mind, you can also use Simply Analytics to look at the demographic data for your customers. So this can be really helpful when you're trying to put together your marketing campaign. So, you know, we all know that the younger crowds are going to be more into the social media marketing, whereas older, maybe you might do a traditional postcard campaign or something like that. So knowing a little bit about your customer demographics is going to help you design the right marketing and advertising to get them in the door. All right. So you have found your audience. Now, what exactly are you going to say to them? Time to come up again with your marketing campaign. A great tool for that is Masterfile. So here's a screenshot from Masterfile. This is a great place to find articles written about your field. So if you can find a quote from an expert, you know, in an article, that can really help you to add a sense of authority to and give some savvy to your marketing materials. Okay, you can also use our website to get free access to the Charlotte Business Journal and the Charlotte Observer. This is going to allow you to keep up with all of the local business news. And you get free digital access with your library card. We also have some great learning tools. So LinkedIn Learning, which is used to be called lynda.com, if anybody's familiar with lynda.com, but has thousands of courses that you can take at your own pace. There are some that even allow certification in certain things. You are going to learn as you sit through this presentation tonight that you have to wear many hats. As an entrepreneur, you have to know marketing, you have to know HR, you have to know accounting, you have to know advertising. You have to know all of these different areas. And you can get trained in all of these using LinkedIn Learning. There are tutorials, again, on management styles, interviewing for employees, all these kind of things you can get from LinkedIn Learning, completely free with your library card. Another great tool for those online educational classes is Universal Class. This is another one. Has some great tools in lots of different areas. And they are all going to be done at your own pace. You're taking these courses at your own pace. There's no deadline, and it's really helping you to build your skills. Again, you're going to learn in this presentation from SCORE the wide array of skills that you're going to have to hone as an entrepreneur. Okay. Here's a great tool called Gale Directory Library. If you want to sort of learn about professional organizations that are related to your industry, this is going to be a great tool. Peer groups can be a great resource as you build your business. So finding, again, those organizations that either can act as mentors to you. You find some great resources for information. Also, maybe you're finding information for suppliers or other organizations that you're going to need to get all of the tools that you need for your business. So Gale Directory Library is going to be a great resource for finding those organizations. Okay, so we also, in addition to all of our great online tools, we have great resources in our programs. So you'll see we have these programs we do with SCORE. We also have business research one-on-ones that you can do with our business librarian. She's wonderful. She does these online, so it doesn't matter where you live. You can book an appointment with her to get guidance on any of these resources I just talked about, or remember, keep in mind, I first said there are over 50 of these resources in total available from the library. So if you want help with any of them, you can set up a business research appointment. And finally, we have a vast collection of traditional books that can help you with every step of your business development. So we have a great print collection, but we also do have a fabulous collection of ebooks and digital audiobooks. So Libby, our big ebook resource, has a dedicated business library within that tool. So great to browse. And that Libby collection, you again can browse 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at our website. All right, so this is our number 704-416-0101. If you have any questions, you want help getting set up with a business research appointment, and our website is here, cmlibrary.org. I just encourage you to just check out all of these great business development resources. Again, if you are not in Mecklenburg County, ask at your local library. They probably have a lot of these tools available to you. And so there's a lot to help enhance everything that you're going to learn tonight from SCORE. And so, yeah, if anybody has any questions, please shout out.
Stephanie, thank you very much for your presentation. We have a couple of questions here. Patricia's asking, where can you find information on the website?
Okay, so let me type cmlibrary.org. Okay, and from there you can click on research and learn, and then there's a filter and you can choose the business development resources.
Very good. And one more question we had from EJ is Data Axle is nationwide, correct?
Yes, and it includes Canada as well.
Very good. Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you, Stephanie, again. For any other questions, put maybe in the chat here. No, if you have no other questions, I'd like to thank Stephanie Lucas again for joining us today. And
thank you all for
stick
having
around
me.
if you'd like. And
all right.
now we move on to the next part of our presentation today. And my great honor to introduce to you Lindsay Peel, longtime mentor, serial entrepreneur, I think, right?
Yeah.
So she knows very much like a number of has what it's like to start something, to make some mistakes, to learn from your mistakes, and kind of move on, but never give up hope. So, with my my great pleasure to introduce Lindsay Peel to our audience here. Lindsay.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that wonderful introduction. Great evening, everyone. It is so good to have you all. Great to see you. I did submit a request to promote you all to panelists if you would like, so that you can engage and talk with us. If you want to be on camera, great. But it is absolutely no pleasure. Please feel free to decline that if you do not feel comfortable. But we are excited to have you all here. I hope that this is not your first time getting a chance to engage and meet with us here at SCORE. But if it is, we welcome you. We're so, so glad to have you. And I hope that we are able to make sure that you can walk away with some tools and resources that will help you either start your business or to either grow your business. Now, while I'm pulling up my slides, if you all could, because I was a little late coming into the session, and I do apologize about that. I'm traveling for work and I was trying to get checked into my room, but I would love for you all to just put in the chat if you are currently in business, your business name, how long you've been in business, and if there's anything in particular that you absolutely want to make sure that you walk away with on today. And my screen should be up. If anyone can give me a thumbs up just to confirm that everything looks good, we will rock and roll. Perfect. Awesome. So I'll move that down. I don't see any communications yet happening in the chat, so I will assume that we might be brand new to business and might not be currently operating. But I will give you all definitely some time if you might still be typing in the chat. Again, my name is Lindsay Peel. I have been a mentor now with SCORE for about 4 years. I have a background in banking and financial services and education. I spent a number of years within the banking industry, pretty much working in every role within your retail bank branch, from a teller to a branch manager, and really everything in between: personal banker, business banker, etc., you name it. I also run multiple businesses in the world of real estate and in financial consulting. So hopefully, some of the questions that you all may have today, we will address them either with our presentation materials, or we will be able to hopefully answer those based on our experiences. I do see two folks in the chat talking back to me. Sherry says, I've been in business for 19 years and I would like to start another business. All right. That's what I would call a second wind. We have Joel in the chat. Joel Drinks Enterprises LLC, but it's in the early stages of the business. Very cool name, Joel. I'm going to just assume that it's something in the beverage industry. I would definitely love to learn more as you get started. So a couple of things, just to give you some FYIs. Here at SCORE, we welcome you at any stage of your business to take advantage of any of our webinars, workshops, but also our one-on-one coaching. That is one of the prime tools and resources that SCORE has been known for. So if you do not have a SCORE mentor, I encourage you, please go to our website and sign up for a mentorship. It is absolutely complimentary. You can also, in your request, you can make sure that you insert what industry you're interested in your coach being in, or what particular tools and resources and education that you're looking for, so that they can make sure that they pair you with the right partner. As you go through today's presentation, as well as potentially participate in other workshops and seminars that we have, we recommend, following this roadmap. In between sessions, make sure that you're actually meeting with your mentor, because you want to make sure that you have an opportunity to actually execute on what you're learning. I like to say often that a good friend of mine Quinn Conyer, she said, Lindsay, way too often we are information rich and execution poor. And I do not want that to be you all here today. I want you to get the information, but I want you to be able to actually use it, to actually execute on it so that you can see growth in your business. A couple of things that you'll learn today. We will talk through some myths and realities of entrepreneurship to go ahead and break the ice. A few success factors, legal requirements, business plan basics, and a few other things that will be very helpful to you all. Of course, I think we know that, through this type of workshop, a few benefits is one, we're going to help you develop your feasibility plan, really help you to think through that business, what you do and how you plan to do it. But we also want to take you through the decision-making process and really help you to make sure that, hey, this is something that you are actually ready to commit to. And for me, a lot of the information will be based on lending practices. I want you all to always think about how can I position my business to get the funding that I need. That is really, 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 really important. Always. You want to make sure that anything that you're doing in your business, that you make sure that you're setting yourself up on paper to get some capital. While bootstrapping is cool for a little while you may be able to, start your business off of your own savings or sometimes personal credit, which I hope not too much of that, but at some point you're going to need some business capital to grow and scale, and we want to make sure that you're able to check those boxes. So before we actually get into some of the nitty-gritty of the information, let's break the ice. Let's address the elephant in the room, especially for my folks who are brand new to entrepreneurship. Oftentimes, entrepreneurship is glorified on social media, sometimes in conversations with people that we know, and we make assumptions, right? And these assumptions formulate into ongoing myths that people will think and assume about being an entrepreneur. But I want you all to have a great idea of the realities of entrepreneurship. So oftentimes people assume that as an entrepreneur, you really won't have to work that hard or to put in long hours. And actually, that is one of the most false things I have ever heard about entrepreneurship, because typically, honestly, you're going to spend more time working in your business than you would working for somebody else. At least you can set boundaries with the job based on hours and what the role is. As an entrepreneur, you can't really have those boundaries in that same way, because there may be a night where you can't clock out at 5 because you have a client that you need to take care of, an order that you need to fulfill, or a fire that you simply have to put out. And you, as that CEO, that is your responsibility. So you have to go ahead and set the expectation that it's going to take a level of commitment and a level of sacrifice to make sure that you can see your business to success. Oftentimes we think that my product or my service is so unique, there's no one else like me. I'm going to come out here and start this business and make $1 million my first year. That's not true, right? Typically, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're doing, there is usually potentially someone else out there that is doing it too. May not be the exact same, it may be close, maybe similar, but a lot of times there is some form of competition, and you should always think about, how can I make sure that I am a step above the rest? What is my unique value proposition? And even if you have a very, very unique and rare opportunity to start a business that has not been done before, or a product that has not been invented, you want to also think about, well, what happens once I start this business, once I create this product? If somebody else happened to does it too and they're inspired by you, now that is still competition. So either you're coming in it with competition, or competition is definitely coming along the way. One of my fan favorite, I'm telling you, I like to address lending in all things. Oftentimes, business owners assume that they can deduct everything so that they won't have to pay a lot in taxes. They're writing off their arm, their leg, their toe, their family reunion, and everything else simply to reduce the amount of money that they net. Guess what, though? When you do that, sometimes you are writing off your opportunity to access capital, because lenders, when that underwriter starts going through your documents, Sure, they're going to see what you were able to gross. However, they are majority looking at your net numbers because your net profit is going to give them the amount of money that you can actually use to pay back that loan. So even if you made $250,000 that year, if you wrote off 240 and we only have 10,000 left over, or if you're negative, a lender is not going to want to give you money because you're not profitable. So really try your best not to go that route in your assumptions. Oftentimes we think that as an entrepreneur, you won't have a boss. That is not true. Oftentimes you pick up more bosses. Your customers become bosses because you are serving them at that point. And yes, you should be taking what they have to say, their recommendations. You should really take it seriously to see how it can impact your business. Because if your customers are not happy, you won't have them. And if you don't have customers, your business has no money. But also, too, your employees, while theoretically speaking, you are their boss, you still have to think about the fact that you are serving them. You have to make sure that you take care of them because when you take care of them, they take care of your business and that business takes care of you. And then, of course, I think we all probably know that you do not get to do what you want to do. You have to do what that business needs you to do to make sure that it can still stand on its own. A few realities about business, and this is not to deter you, this is not to scare you, this is just to make sure that you are informed. Okay. 24% of businesses fail after 2 years. Let's let that sink in for a moment. The 5-year mark, that number increases to 50%. So 50% of the people who started a business during the pandemic in 2020, 50% of them, their businesses are no longer. And you want to make sure that you can consistently stay on the blue side of this. You want to make sure that your business can be successful, that it can be around. And if possible, you want that business to exceed your lifetime. But we have to take care of our businesses. We have to steward them well. We have to plan well. We have to use systems and make sure that we have proper operations. But in order to make sure that we can be extremely successful in business, we have to ask ourselves, do we have what it takes? Do you truly have what it takes? Do you have the education or the experience in the field? If not, do you have mentorship? Is there a fellowship opportunity? Is there an accelerator or an incubator that you can become a part of? Do you have a strong work ethic? And a lot of times, if you don't even have a strong work ethic, I'm afraid for you because that it takes that to be successful in business. Business is not for the faint at heart. It absolutely requires us to take ourselves to a whole nother level to be able to do business and to do it well. Effective time management. You have to be able to juggle multiple projects at a time, multiple tasks, multiple deadlines, and you want to be able to do so in a way that feels comfortable. You don't want to walk around consistently stressed because you're not managing your time well. You have to be able to multitask and to manage multiple things within the same season. But you also have to have the willingness to ask for help and to actually take advice from others. When you start a business, you have to cancel out the notion that you can do it all alone. Yes, oftentimes we start as the chief everything officer. However, you cannot maintain a business that way. Even if it's a service-based business, you still will need support. And support can look differently for different people. Does it always mean immediately hiring? Not necessarily. Can you get an intern? Or do you just need a coach, a mentor to guide you? Are there contractors that you could potentially bring on for certain projects, even if it's not ongoing? You want to make sure that you feel comfortable saying, hey, I need some help. Hey, I'm looking for this level of support, because closed mouths don't get fed. And whatever you don't ask for, you for sure cannot receive. But also, too, do you have adequate capital? Do you have enough money to start this business and to actually maintain it until it can produce enough money to take care of itself? And a lot of times, if you're not even starting with the right amount of capital, it makes things a little bit harder for you to go and get capital later, because by the time you go and apply for capital, sometimes we've already exhausted our personal credit. Sometimes we've already emptied the savings. You want to make sure that you can start with the right amount of capital as best as you can, so that your business actually have a chance. Sometimes we start struggle businesses from the beginning. And when you start that way, it takes you a little bit longer to bounce back and to recover from that. And we don't want that to be you. When you're thinking about capital, when you're thinking about the financial resources that you need, you have to think about those essential considerations. Do you have the proper tools and equipment? Are there any leasehold improvements going into this brick and mortar location? What licenses and permits, professional fees, initial inventory, working capital reserve funds? You have to make sure that you think about these things first and not on the back end. Don't start the business. We're moving into the space, and now we have to recalculate what we need. Because a lot of times you can be setting your business up to not be as successful as it could have been had we had the tools and resources in the beginning. What is the total monthly cost of living? Are there areas that you need to potentially cut back? Because we know as entrepreneurs, you are going to be a personal guarantor for any type of capital. So you want to make sure that you are also stewarding your personal finances well. You want to make sure that you are considering these things. Is there some outstanding debt that we need to take care of first? Do we have any savings? Do you have any personal emergency savings? And if you have an emergency savings, how long will it last you if something happens? If you're not thinking about these things personally, that scares me. Because when entrepreneurs start businesses and they don't have a certain level of financial awareness, it's scary for that business, because oftentimes your habits and your thoughts that you have personally around money, they're going to mirror themselves in business. That is a fact. No matter how much you think, oh, I'll take care of it later. Oh, I'll work on my credit later. Let me get the business. There's going to be a time where in order to get the business where it needs to go, you might have to go and apply for some money. And if we have swept our personal finances under the rug for years and years and years, your business is going to suffer. Make the sacrifices now. It's temporary. We're making temporary sacrifices for the long-term gain. Now that we've gotten the hard stuff out the way, right? Those hard considerations, those hard topics that you have to be able to answer with yourself, for yourself, and definitely with and for a mentor, let's look at our options. A lot of times, the most common is starting a new business. While there are advantages and disadvantages to anything, right? You want to start thinking about what matters to you. What are you looking for? What is your purpose for starting this business? What is the overall objective that you're looking to hit? And you want to start with the end in mind. What do you want the transition of that business to look like? Is this a business that you see being here even beyond you? Or is this a business that, you know what, hey, let me just create a job for myself in this season of my life? Think about those things, because they help you to determine which avenue is going to be the best for you. And starting a fresh business, yes, you have some perks, right? You get a chance to establish yourself and your brands and build a reputation, create those systems. You can choose your own space and name and logo and all of the exciting things, explore new markets. But there are also disadvantages too. You're starting usually without a customer base, unless you've worked in the industry and there are some people who are coming over with you. You're also taking a bigger risk. You're starting from scratch. You really don't have a customer base. And you have to position this business to show a proof of concept and to then become profitable. Sometimes, too, when you start a new business, because it doesn't have a track record, it can be difficult to get capital. Not saying that you can't get any, it just can present a different level of difficulty because a lot of lenders want you to be in business for at least 2 years. And they usually want to see the financials over those 2 years. Now we can consider buying an existing business, right? But let's start on the flip side of that. A few disadvantages of buying an existing business is that there could be some hidden challenges that you don't know about. Debt, reputation, sometimes the employee's loyalty, or even the customer's loyalty to the owners, out of date inventory, transfer issues, you name it. Inventory, is it obsolete? Or can you actually still use it? Because they're not going to tell you that, oh, the inventory that you're buying in this contract it's no good. They're not going to tell you that. You're going to have to do your own due diligence. Will you have an employee issue? Are they so loyal to the previous owners that you come in and they become defiant? There is no guarantee that success will continue, even if the business was successful before you. Again, none of this information is to scare you. It's just to make sure that you know your options. But there are advantages to buying an existing business. Usually you'll have an established clientele, suppliers, known location. I just walked into a store yesterday who's under brand new management, but I've already been a customer of that store ongoing. So these new managers naturally continue to have me as a client. Usually businesses has a known, when you're buying them, they usually have a known quantity with whatever their formula is, whatever that name is. It usually works because if it didn't, that business would not have been eligible to be sold, and I'm pretty sure you would not have said yes. But you can also have some financial records to review. Now, right now, it's a little tricky because some folks, their financial records may show some COVID numbers and impacts of that. So you may want to ask to see some pre-COVID numbers and then to see some updated numbers just so that you compare the two. A lot of times, you might be able to get some capital a little bit easier just because the business has a track record. And a lot of times, the lender can actually look at the financials of the previous owner to also make lending decisions for you as the new owner of this business. In the same family of buying an existing business, you can also buy a franchise. A lot of times when we're driving and we're seeing the Subways and the Chick-fil-A's and the McDonald's, not all of them are corporate stores. Some of them are owned by local people just like you. They bought a franchise. And when you buy a franchise, you really become a part of this proven system, right? You're coming in to a well-oiled machine. It's like a business in a box. And a lot of times you just naturally benefit from the marketing and sales power of that franchisor. Just think about a new Chick-fil-A. When you see a new Chick-fil-A pop up in your community, and let's just say you are that new owner of that franchise, people are going to come and buy from you simply because they love Chick-fil-A or simply because they see marketing from Chick-fil-A. And usually that big national marketing is usually from the corporate stores, but you still benefit as a franchise. It's something to think about. And it's not all, it's sometimes people feel like purchasing a franchise is unaffordable, but it can be very affordable if you can get the right capital stack. And especially if you're coming in with a certain level of financial uh, stability, because they do review your financials, your personal statements, all the things. But also, a great benefit is that you usually can have some form of a consulting relationship with the corporate office, but you also can build consulting and mentorship relationships with other franchisees as well. And they're here to help you, they want to help. I had a client who purchased a Meineke, and a lot of his support came from other franchisees from across different states who believed in him and wanted to see him be successful. Now, post-COVID, probably the most popular business, especially for my service-based businesses, is home-based, remote businesses, because it gives you the most convenient work location, usually less overhead, more flexible time, tax advantages. You usually can hire folks anywhere. Um, my 9 to 5, we are all fully remote. Everybody in the company internationally works from home on our computers. So they can hire us from anywhere. My director's in San Francisco and I live in Baltimore. But that doesn't really matter when you have a home base or a remote first business. You get to make that choice. You get to set those terms. You get to create that company culture. Are there disadvantages? Sure. Do you face sometimes zoning or deed restrictions? Yes, especially if they don't want commercial businesses operating out of these residential homes. Sometimes you feel a level of isolation. You can get a little lonely at home, but that's if you're not engaging with other people through your work and your business or outside. Sometimes you can find difficulty finding financing, or the amount that they give you may not be the same just because you're operating a home-based business. And of course, family distractions. While family distractions are a little bit more acceptable now, right? During COVID, we see parents being parents and all the things happening, and it created a level of acceptance. However, you still want to make sure that you can focus and get your work done. And you might not want to always do that after the kids go to sleep or your spouse go to sleep or whatever the case may be. My nonprofit folks, my social impact people. A lot of times people say yes to nonprofits because of the grants or because of the tax status. The big difference, though, is that when you have a nonprofit, it's technically not yours, right? You might be the executive director or the CEO, but that money that's made is not just yours. It's the organization's. And that is important to understand the difference. Even if you did found it and you brought in all the current board members, you all still have a fiduciary responsibility to take care of those benefactors of that organization and to make sure that we are stewarding the tools and financial resources of that nonprofit well. Okay? It is super, 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 super important. When it comes to nonprofits, though, once you actually have your entity, don't forget that step that you must apply and qualify for your 501c3 status. That is important. So make sure you follow up. Then you have your online-based businesses, right? Low startup costs, growing consumer acceptance. A lot of people are in the e-commerce and online space. It's usually, more competition though, because it is lower barriers to entry, almost any and everybody. You come up with a couple of dollars, you can go and create a drop ship store or whatever the case may be. So there are a lot of people who you may find doing the same or similar things that you are doing more frequently online than you would sometimes in person. But also too, your consumers have higher expectations and are usually less patient. You have people who are fussing, they didn't get their products in 3 days, like you said online. Well, ma'am or sir, it's day 3.5. It's on its way, or there was a holiday. Sometimes people want to hear that. Sometimes they're not operating from a level of grace and empathy, and you have to manage that when it comes to customer service. But a lot of times too, you don't really have a lot of personal contact with your customers online. Sometimes that's great. Sometimes it's not so much, especially for those customers who value and they want that in-person connections. Now, a couple of components of actually owning a business. Once you know your options, you choose your option. This is it for me, Lindsay. Let's start thinking about, what does this really look like? Earlier, I mentioned that we usually start as the chief everything officer. However, we cannot stay there. Okay. You have to be intentional and mindful to make sure that you have an idea of what your org chart should look like. What is the breakdown of your organization, and who do you need? Who do you need to hire, contract with, to make sure that these roles can be fulfilled? Because if you're starting your business because you are an amazing baker, respectfully, right? Being an amazing baker starting a business, does that mean that you become a marketing expert? Nor an HR consultant all of a sudden. And it definitely does not make you a financier. So what does that mean? You gotta go and get the people that you need. They may not all necessarily work in your business full time or even part time. You may just have some contractual relationships on an as need basis. But you need to know these things and create a plan. Even if you start doing everything, you might start doing your own marketing and accounting, but you gotta create a plan to release yourself from those roles. Delegation is important. You need to be able to not always force yourself to work in the business and come out of it to work on the business. But even beyond that, you want to start working above the business to be able to make some moves for your business along the way. But if you're stuck doing everything, that limits your capability to do so. Again, not that we're being mean, we're being realistic. Marketing, no matter how great, no matter how great your product or service is, if people don't know about it, they can't buy from you. They can't leverage your services. It is imperative that you create a marketing strategy. What is that plan of execution? How are you tracking your analytics? Are we marketing in the right places to the right people? You got to make sure that you know your target audience, but also, where are they? Where can you find them? If your target audience mostly uses LinkedIn, then creating an Instagram campaign, the best use of your time, resources, or energy. You want to make sure that you're promoting yourself, but you want to do so with intention so that you actually can see an impact. Understanding your brand. You want people to get comfortable with the brand, that name recognition, the qualification of services and products, that market identity, and being intentional about advertising. When we think about branding, great example of that is if you walk around and you see a check mark somewhere, even if that check mark doesn't say just do it, you see that check mark and it looks a certain way, you already know who it's associated with. That's how you build brand recognition. Does it take time? Absolutely. But do you have to be intentional about it from the beginning? Oh, absolutely. And you want to make sure that you're creating a positive brand for your business. Because as soon as you have negative affiliations with your branding, sometimes that is the brand. People automatically will assume negative or bad things if that's how you've associated the brands. And you don't want that, because that is going to stunt your growth. It is going to stunt your profits. And we cannot afford that in business. You want to always make sure that you're thinking about your sales strategy. Who are your customers? How do you contact them? How do you connect with them? How do you nurture them? But how do you go get more prospects? Are you making presentations? Are you having conversations? Are you preparing the bids, working on deals to close, processing orders? All of those things are a part of your sales strategist, your sales strategy and methodology. You do not want to just wing it. And you do not just want to assume that sales are just going to happen just because the business started. I'm pretty sure the 50% of entrepreneurs who had a failed business after 5 years, I'm pretty sure they wish that was automatic. But it's, you have to do the work. And I encourage people to do the work in the beginning. While it's possible to build the plane while you fly it, it's not always the most comfortable, nor is it always the most ideal. Okay. But you also have to be honest with yourself. Do you have the skills? Can you do it? Are there any areas of opportunity in how you show up or what you have? What areas of business are you not the strongest in? And can we fix it? Is it a course that you need? Is it the mentorship that you need? Is it a certification that you need? You don't always have to go out there and get degrees and rack up student loans to enhance your skills. There are ways that you can do that alternatively. You just have to do your due diligence. A couple of years ago, I participated in Bank of America and Cornell's collaboration with a women's entrepreneurship certificate that was completely free. But now that's a certification that I can leverage. It helped to enhance my skills, especially as a woman in business. But you got to be willing to do that work. You got to be willing to make time. You got to be willing to sacrifice so that you can know what you're doing and feel comfortable. And when you find that your business requires a certain skill level that you may not have, who can you go find to be able to fill that gap? You can't just leave the holes there and not find solutions to it. As CEOs, your job is not to be the smartest one in the room. It's not to have the best strategy, but it's to make sure that you can go and bring in the people who can help you check those boxes. Can you hire the right person who can come and take this role on? It's okay to hire people who are smarter than you. That's actually the hack. You want to hire people who can do what you can't do because they're going to help you advance your business. But you got to determine what's important. What is your focus? And maybe breaking that up in phases. This year, we're focusing on X. Or next quarter, we're focusing on X. But you want to think about those things. They're important because you want to be able to articulate them when you're having a conversation with a potential lender or potential investor or potential partner. For my folks who are looking to operate a brick and mortar, location, location, location. Where are you? Where are we placing this business? Does that location fit our market and who we're serving? We just had the pet store example earlier. That's important because sometimes the location can make or break your business's experience. You don't want to be too close to competition. You want to think about your distribution model. You want to think about merchandising. All of these things are so important, and sometimes we just don't think about it because, oh, I'm great at this, so let me go and do this without really thinking about the back end business and operations of it. And oftentimes, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you've never had C-suite experience, and there are just certain things that you just have never done before, you've never run a program or never run a department, or you don't even have managerial experience, fill in the gap. Assess yourself and your needs, like we talked about earlier. But you also want to make sure that you are pricing yourself well. You don't want to be too high. You don't want to be too low. You want to make sure that your price matches the value. You do not want to be charging Nordstrom rack prices, but we're giving Walmart value. But we also don't want to charge Dollar General prices and we're giving Saks value either. That happens. You want to make sure that you're pricing yourself just right. Look at your competition. You don't necessarily want to be too higher than them, but you don't necessarily want to be too much lower than them either, where you're pricing yourself out of profitability and being able to take care of yourself. You want to kind of fall somewhere in the middle that feels comfortable. And when you're doing your pricing, especially for my service-based businesses, it's not just about the time that you're going to put into that client then. It's also about the skills and expertise that you've gained over these years doing this thing. Make sure that you are pricing yourself at your value because you deserve it and your business needs it. You want to make sure that you're assessing your competitors from every angle. You're about to open up a bakery. Walk in a couple bakeries. See how many bakery owners will actually have a conversation with you about their wins and losses and all the things. And if they won't, that's okay too. But that doesn't mean that you cannot visit those businesses. That doesn't mean that you can't do your due diligence. Everybody should be doing their market research on their competitors. Everybody. So that you know what works, what doesn't work. What can you add? What should you remove? Do your due diligence. And especially even from a financial perspective, if you can. Notice how many employees they have. How big is their operation? Think about some of their overhead so that you can make sure that you have a guide for yourself and parameters that you want to operate within. Even if you're starting with the grandiose mile-long business plan and ideas, you don't always have to start that way. You can phase it out, and you want to do so while monitoring what's happening around you with the people who are doing something similar. Now, once you have kind of assessed these things, you know which direction we're going. Now we're going to make it legal. We're going to make it official. I've seen the entrepreneurs operating and not being official on paper, or even if they're official on paper and they filed their entity with their Secretary of State, I found that not everybody was in good standing. Not everybody was going up there and paying those annual fees. You have to do so. But when you do so, right, you got to make sure that you're doing so for the right entity type based on your needs. Do you just need to start off as a sole proprietor right now? Or do we already know that we have desires for this company to grow and we want to start as that LLC or that corporation? Or even if you're in partnership with someone, you want to make sure that you actually file your documents on paper, that your name that you're operating out of, make sure it's legal. People can find it. Because if it's not, we're just going by something that we called ourselves with a business, but it's not on paper. Somebody can come in and take it. Yes, if your name is Strawberries LLC, or if it's Strawberries and you're mine and you know you don't have that LLC, somebody can come in and go and take that business name on paper with the Secretary of State. And now we have to fight the battle of potentially changing the business name, going through that cycle. Go ahead and establish your entity. Even if you know that you kind of have a name idea, but you're not necessarily ready to launch tomorrow, sometimes I still encourage establishing the entity so that you can lock it down, but also so that you start accumulating time on paper in business. So when that bank says, hey, we want to see 2 years of you being in business, sometimes they're looking at the start date. When did you start on paper? Your start date was 2020. Even if you didn't technically fully start making money until 2022 on paper, that business started in 2020. So go ahead and start collecting that time in business because it helps. I think one of the things on this slide to make sure that we don't miss is that when we hear folks talking about a S corp, know that that's not a separate entity. It is a subchapter. It is a tax status. So a lot of times our folks who are filing as S corps, they're operating LLCs. When you go the S corp route, okay, you want to do so with a level of financial comfortability. And you want to make sure that you're having these conversations with your CPA, but you want to at least hit a minimum amount of profit that can actually be a justifiable salary before you go that route. Because before you're an S corp, even if you say, "Oh, I'm making my payroll to yourself," really, if you're an LLC, you're really not taking payroll for real. That's an owner's draw. Okay. But when you are able to file as an S corp, that is when you put yourself on actual payroll and have actual pay stubs, etc. In that transition, though, you want to make sure that financially you're comfortable. Because one of the biggest differences, and I was just talking to a client about this not too long ago. When you're an LLC and you're just filing as that single member LLC, you're not being taxed until later on, right? You're not worried about taxes until it's tax time, unless you're paying quarterly taxes if you choose to. So when you take your draw, you're getting exactly what you're taking. If my owner's draw this month is $2,500, that's your owner's draw. The difference when you go and start filing as an S corp and you're on payroll, what happens? Even from your own work experience, what happens? Your draw or your payroll might be 2,500, that same 2,500. But guess what? Now your taxes are coming out on the front end. So you might not actually be taking 2,500 home anymore. After taxes, it could be 19. So you want to make sure that financially you're comfortable, that you've been able to build a level of sustainability and understanding and having a budget before you make those types of transitions, and you do not want to do them alone. Make sure you're consulting your accounting partner. Now, when we're thinking about just kind of the recommendations for a lot of startups, people will say, sole proprietor or partnership or whatever. But I think you should be concerned about liability and taxation. Because as a sole prop, somebody sues you, because we know people get sue happy, they're coming for you. Versus when you have that LLC, that entity in place, that provides a shield from you and a lot of your personal assets, right, to that business first. So if they're suing you and they're coming for a certain amount or a certain thing, it needs to be within that business realm. Now, some people can get savvy and slip through the cracks and, start to attack you personally as that owner, especially as a single member. However, you just want to make sure that you have your ducats in a row and your boxes checked. Okay. You want to make sure that you're abiding by government regulations. Do you have the proper business licenses and approvals? And the approvals before you get started. I just saw a business in my neighborhood, nail salon, who opens up, but I believe they opened up a little too soon, because maybe after a week or two, they were closed, and closed for at least 2 months until the rest of their ducks were in a row. Do not try to cheat the system and start before things are approved. Don't do it. Labor laws, immigration laws, IRS and Social Security withholding and payments, you want to understand them. And even if you don't fully understand them, you want to have a partner who understands it and can explain these things to you. You want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. Are you properly insured? As entrepreneurs, you got to make sure you definitely have some good personal insurance, but do you have proper business insurance? Property insurance, liability, at the bare minimum, everybody should have liability insurance. Motor vehicles, umbrella liability, workers' comp, health, life, business interruption, all the things. And again, have a conversation with your insurance agent, because we all need one, and see, what do you really need right now at this stage in business? And maybe you start with one, the primary one. And then maybe you grow over time to get those other policies as your business grow and as your revenues grow. That is super important. You do not want to over leverage yourself. Don't start signing up for a whole bunch of stuff and then we're not ready and we can't pay for it. Now these policies are lapsing. And now we're walking around unprotected. Start with what you need and grow along the way. A couple of things around business planning, okay? Business plans are important, period. Okay. We won't go all day about that, but they're important. And business plans, one thing about them, they should not be something that sits on the shelf. You do it one time and that's it. You don't touch it anymore. It's collecting dust after 2 years. Your business plan should be a living and breathing document. You want to make sure that you're updating it. Update it with your wins, update it with your changes. How is the business evolving? Updating with actual financials and not just projections, especially as you build time in business, because it's an essential tool for you. And a lot of lenders will ask for it. Not all of them, but a lot of them will. And you want to have it. Now, it does not have to be a 10-page complex plan. It can be a lean 1-pager, 2-pager, whatever. But you want to have something because that is your guide. That is your blueprint. Just like your budget is your blueprint for your money, your business plan is your blueprint for your business operations. And when you don't have one, we're usually out here winging it. And you don't want that. That's not sustainable and it's not scalable either. What's in it, Lindsay? You want to make sure that, of course, you have a table of contents to let people know where things are. Because some people, when they're reviewing it, they may need to jump to specific sections that are relevant to whatever the need is at that time. You want to have an executive summary, and you want to make sure that you cover at least these 3 sections. The business, deep diving into the business, market analysis, what you do, how you do it, why you do it, financials, your forecasts and projections, but also your capital stack. What are you also contributing to the business, that owner's contribution? What's your skin in the game? Supporting data, wins, resumes, letters of interest. If you have potential contracts lined up and they're like, hey, I just need you to start the business and maybe go get some capital, but you know they want to work with you, ask them for a letter. Put that in your business plan. Your lender would appreciate seeing that, hey, once we give them this capital, they can immediately hit the ground running and start working with clients. Any type of supporting data that's going to be relevant. Your mentor's name sometimes. I have seen it. I've been reviewing applications as with my lending partners, and sometimes we're looking to see who's on your team. What mentorship do you have? Consider adding your team members' resumes, especially executive leaders, but even your mentors. If you've been a part of programs, any type of accelerator, incubator, cohorts, put that information, put your certificates in there because it adds value. It helps to tell an overall story of who you are and that business, but also those components that are going to help that business be successful. Don't overthink it, but also don't underthink it either. One of my favorite slides is that every business owner needs a dream team. A financial dream team is what I like to call us. Okay. Now, typically we call this your BAIL team. It's in another order, so it might not be spelling BAIL right now, but I want you to lock in the acronym BAIL, BAIL, or in this case, BAIL, BBAIL. And why is that, Lindsay? Because you want to absolutely always remember and think about your banker, No, not your teller that you see that makes your deposits, but do you have an actual banker who knows you? You know them, you trust them, they trust you. Because your banker is going to be your advocate on the inside. I had clients who would unfortunately get declined when we would submit their applications. But because of the nature of our relationship, I was calling underwriters to advocate for them. But it was because they actually had a relationship with the banker. I know that we try to use all the convenient measures, the mobile app, the ATM, anything except walking into the bank. But go into the bank. Stop doing yourself a disservice. Go and meet someone. Have a conversation and see how they can support you. What tools, resources, or introductions can they make for you? You absolutely want to have your, and I'm jumping down because I want to stick with that, the Bell team. Do you have your mentor? And SCORE will give you one for free. Do you have an accountant? Very important. And it's not always the aunt and uncle or the sibling who just does taxes. Do you actually have an accountant who understands tax law, tax strategy, financial preparation and management, and reconciliation? And when you have them, you do not just want to use them during tax time. You want to absolutely make sure that you have an ongoing relationship with your accountant. I like to recommend quarterly meetings. But if that seems too much, at least twice a year. You don't want to wait to the end of the year because sometimes you can just miss out on those moments where you could have made financial improvements had you started earlier or had you looked at this 6 months ago. But if you're not looking at your numbers until Q4 and something happened in Q1, you're not finding out or seeing it until many, many months later. That is harmful for your business. When it comes to your money, you want to be in it. You want to know your numbers. You want to understand what's happening. You want to be able to articulate what's happening. But you also want to make adjustments and pivot based on what you see. If this one product is not selling and inventory keeps sitting on the shelf, so what? You're scheduled to re-up on that inventory in a month. Don't do it if it's not selling because you're wasting money with it being on the shelf. And now we're spending more money on the thing that's wasting us money. You have a service, but nobody's buying. But you're intentionally marketing and you're putting lots of money in it, but your audience just doesn't need that service. You're wasting money. And I don't want you to waste time, money, energy, or resources. There's a such thing as wasting it, and there's also a such thing as just trying something, learning that it didn't work, and you pivot. But when you're doing the latter, you want to do so swiftly. Trim the fat of what's not working, move on. You want to have your insurance agent. You might not talk to them often, but you want to have them and at least do an insurance checkup once a year to make sure your policies are still relevant, to make sure that the dollar amounts attached to the policies are still enough. Your lawyer. You gotta have legal support. Okay? If law is not your thing, don't go out here trying to be your own lawyer. Yes, we can read and chat GPT and templates online. Don't go out here trying to be your own attorney. Okay? Now I recognize that attorneys can be expensive. Retainers can be expensive. And we just may not always have the budget or want to pay, even if we do have the budget. But you at least want to have some legal support that you can tap into. Is there pro bono support in your community? Or do you just need a less expensive option, like a prepaid option, like a Legal Shield, for example, where you pay a small dollar amount to be a part of the network, and now you can get that legal support whenever you need it for a super fraction of the cost to actually have a personal retainer. Do what's best for you and your budget. You can always pivot, you can always maneuver, but do what's best for you. And do what's best for your finances. I don't want you all digging yourself in a hole just because Lindsay said you need a lawyer. Yes, I said you need a lawyer, but I also said you need to be fiscally responsible in seeking that. Please be mindful and vet people out. All of these people that you need, vet them out. Engage with a few of them. Engage with a few of them. Date them. Take advantage of the complimentary consultations that they may offer you. But you don't want to just sign on the dotted line for the first person that you meet and engage with. It's just like a marriage or a relationship. You are not going to get married after date one. You're just not. It takes a couple of dates, sometimes a couple of months to really get to know them. However long it takes, you want to put in the work to build the relationship. Again, try to stay away from transactional people and transactions. It's relationship based because you want them to actually be there when you need them. And you want it to be based on that relationship and not just the transaction attached to the support. It's very important. And I don't want you to second guess yourself on what you need, but also what you deserve because you are the prize. They need you just like you need them. They don't have you, they don't get paid. And when you have them, make sure that they are working for you on your behalf. Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing, especially when you're paying them? Are they meeting your needs? And if they're not, there's someone out there who will take care of you. Do your due diligence. Now, as we prepare to wrap up and we create space for question and answers, I want you all to think about this quick assessment. Sorry. I want you to look at this, take a screenshot. Yes, you'll receive the slides, but I want you to think about these things and sincerely sit with yourself. Your idea feasibility. Is what you're offering an unmet need? Or are you jumping into something that is just super oversaturated? Market identification, implementation, funding. Do you understand what it takes to obtain funding? And do you know what funding sources are available for you? I want you all to do this work, have these conversations with yourself, be truthful with yourself. Because if you can't be truthful with yourself, unfortunately, you can't be truthful to anybody else, and not even your mentor. And you want to be able to show up as your most authentic self and your most vulnerable self, because that's the only way you're going to actually get the support that you need. I love growth work. Homework is what we call it, but I like to call it growth work because there is some growth happening when you do these things. Write out your vision statement for your business or your business ideas. And even if right now you're just in the idea phase, write it out as if you were actually starting tomorrow. What's the purpose of your business? What are you trying to achieve? Why are you in business? What are the products and services you have? What are you offering? But also, what's important? What are your values? It is imperative that you understand this for yourself. Because if you don't understand it for yourself, you cannot communicate this to anyone else. You won't be able to. And if you can't articulate this to anyone else, we might be stepping on our own toes with getting funding. We might be limiting our ability to bring in investors or good partners. Or if you can't even explain your product and service to an ideal customer, now we've just shut the door on income opportunities. So while this might seem low level, it's intentional and it's for a reason. And you want to make sure that you can do it and do it well. And if you find that you can't even answer these questions yet, go back to the drawing board and let's figure it out. It's okay. There is no judgment. But we want you to make sure that you are solid. You want to make sure you're solid before you start marketing to any and everyone else. That is important. I appreciate you all. I hope that this information was valuable and helpful to you all in your business. And I would love, love, love to make sure that we address any questions that you all may have. I'm going to go to the chat to make sure that I didn't miss anyone.
No, thank you. I think, yeah, if there's any other questions at this point. But Lindsay, thank you for your awesome presentation. I mean, enjoyed it. I mean, it's good material. I hope everybody got something out of this. Helps you in your thought process, in your journey to entrepreneurship. It's not an easy journey with many setbacks, but you learn, you grow from your setbacks. As you said, it's grow work, right? You got to walk and grow, and sometimes you fall and you got to back up, and that can be very invigorating. But good stuff. Keep in mind that we have a lot of resources at SCORE, and both nationally. You can go online. There is actually a sequence of other simple step workshops, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The online could take. We have other knowledge type sessions on accounting, marketing, whatever. And take a look at score.org for resources. We got a lot of them. We also do community events. We pop up in the community every so often, and we have a bunch of folks from the community, and it's a great interchange of ideas and thoughts and experiences and laughs, and it's good. It's healing sometimes. It's building, and I hope you maybe can join us in one of those events. Again. Thank you very much, Lindsay, for your awesome presentation. I always enjoy being there in the background and watching and learning. And thank you, everyone, for participating. Reminder, you will get a copy of all the slides sometime tomorrow, I think. And then, ultimately, if you think you're taking a couple of steps forward and not quite sure, we offer the one-on-one mentorship to the community where you really get an experienced person who's been in business, made mistakes and wants to help you avoid some of those same mistakes. So take advantage of that opportunity and see if you like working with a person who can act as a sounding board to you. Again, you can do that online, and now that you have this course under your belt, maybe that might be a good jumping off point. Thank you again for being here tonight, and have a good evening. See you soon. Bye bye.
Have a great one, everyone.